Good day everyone. Today we will explain about aerobic respiration and what it is, and who discovered it, and how it works, and why is it important in our daily lives.
So, what is aerobic respiration? Aerobic respiration is a process where cells use oxygen to break down glucose and release energy. This energy is stored in the form of ATP, which the cell uses to function. It also produces carbon dioxide and water as waste. And there is a simple equation, and it is glucose plus oxygen equal carbon dioxide plus water plus energy, and that's ATP. It happens mostly in the mitochondria of cells and gives a lot of energy. To explain this simple, aerobic respiration is how your body turns food and air into energy, like a battery getting charged so you can move, play, and grow.
Back in 1777, the French scientist Antoine Lavoisier was studying breathing and noticed that it works like a slow type of burning, or what he called slow combustion. He realized that just like fire needs oxygen, our bodies also need oxygen to release energy from food. This was the first time oxygen was linked directly to respiration. A few decades later, in the 19th century, Louis Pasteur studied tiny living things, the microorganisms. He observed that some microbes could only survive and grow when oxygen was present. To describe this, he introduced the word aerobic, which literally means living with air. So in short, Lavoisier discovered oxygen's role in respiration, and Pasteur gave us the actual term aerobic to describe organisms and processes that require oxygen.
So here's the structures. First is glucose molecule, oxygen molecule, and mitochondria. So here's the equation. Glucose plus oxygen to carbon dioxide plus water plus energy, ATP, or atmosphere. So, C6H12O6 plus C6O2 to 6CO2 plus 6H2CO plus 238 ATP. So this is the main equation. Glucose from food reacts with the oxygen. The waste products are carbon dioxide and water, and the useful product is ATP, so which is our energy currency. So when glucose and oxygen react, they produce carbon dioxide, which is the 6CO2, and water as by the products. At the same time, energy is released in the form of ATP. This energy is stored in the form of ATP, which cells can use to perform various functions.
First is glucose molecule. This is the main fuel. It comes from food and carries stored chemical energy. I'm gonna give some structure of this, like sugar from rice, bread, and fruit. That is like etc. etc. Second word is oxygen molecule. Oxygen molecule inhaled through breathing. Oxygen is the final electron acceptor in the process. It is essential for efficiently extracting energy. Example is like yun, pag ginhawa mo, like ano mo ginhawa is oxygen or air nagikan sa gawas, like that. Third is mitochondria. Mitochondria, often called the powerhouse of the cell. This is where most of cellular respiration take place. Ibali mo ito, powerhouse ng cell. I'm gonna give some three examples to this tree word. Why is it important? But first, I'm gonna give the example of this tree. Provide energy from growth and repair. When you got cut, cell use ATP to build new tissues. Second is power muscles, nerves, brain activity. During a sprint, muscle construct nerves that send signal the brain stay active using ATP. Third is more efficient than anaerobic. Respiration produces much more ATP, pure glucose molecule. Okay. Why is it important? Okay. First word is the glucose provide energy from growth and repair. Okay. Without ATP, wounds wouldn't heal and damaged tissue couldn't be replaced. Second is powers muscles, nerves, brain's activity. Communication between nerves, cells, and brain activity would stop without steady ATP supply. Third is more efficient than anaerobic respiration. If cell only use an aerobic respiration, they wouldn't make a very little ATP and you'd tear out quickly.
Aerobic respiration happens in four main stages. The first step is glycolysis, which happens in the cytoplasm. Here, glucose is broken down into two smaller molecules called pyruvate, and a little bit of energy is released in the form of ATP. Next is the link reaction, which takes place inside the mitochondria. The pyruvate from glycolysis is converted into a molecule called acetyl-CoA, which is the entry point for the next cycle. Next, Krebs cycle, located in the mitochondrial matrix. In this stage, acetyl-CoA is broken down further, releasing carbon dioxide and transferring high-energy electrons to special carrier molecules. Last, we have electron transport chain, which happens in the inner membrane of the mitochondria. This stage uses the high-energy electrons to produce the majority of ATP, while oxygen acts as the final electron acceptor to form water.
So first stage is glycolysis. So glucose to 2-pyruvate produces 2 ATP plus 2 NADH. So it happens in the cytoplasm. In glycolysis, glucose is split into 2 pyruvates, which is the small amount of energy is made here, amounting to 2 ATP.
Link reaction. First, what is link reaction? The link reaction is a step in aerobic respiration where pyruvate from glucose is changed into acetyl-CoA, a fuel for the next change. It also makes carbon dioxide and NADH. It happens in the mitochondria and needs oxygen. So explain of this is a link reaction is like a small step your body takes to get energy from food. First, your food is broken into something called pyruvate, and then in the link of reaction, pyruvate is turned into acetyl-CoA, which is like fuel for the next part of energy making. While doing this, the body also makes a little bit of carbon dioxide, which you breathe out, and something called NADH, which helps make energy later. It happens inside the tiny part of your cell and called mitochondria, where the most energy. So I'm saying carbon dioxide, I will gonna say it otro in carbon dioxide, which you breathe out sa recap.
So here's the third stage, which is the Krebs cycle. So acetyl-CoA broken down produces 2 ATP 6 NADH, and 2 FADH to 4 CO2. It happens in the mitochondrial matrix. So the Krebs cycle releases CO2 and makes more electron carriers, NADH and FADH2, which are foiled for the next stage.
Electron transport chain. I'm gonna give some small example. A little example. NADH and FADH donate electrons, like charging a battery. Second is oxygen is final electron acceptor, like water plugging in a charger without it power stops. Third is produce 34 ATP, like fuels activity, like long distance running or focusing in classes.
When we break down one molecule of glucose during aerobic respiration, the energy is released in stages. First is glycolysis. It produces 2 ATP. Next is Krebs cycle. It also produces 2 ATP. The biggest amount of energy comes from electron transport chain. It makes about 34 ATP using oxygen. So in total, from just one glucose molecule aerobic respiration gives around 38 ATP, which is huge amount compared to anaerobic respiration.
The diagram shows how glucose and oxygen are used in the mitochondria. Glycolysis, the Krebs cycle, and the electron transport chain work together to produce ATP, while carbon dioxide and water are released as byproducts.
Aerobic respiration generates significantly more energy compared to anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration requires oxygen and involves glycolysis, the Krebs cycles, and the electron transport chain, yielding approximately 38 ATP molecules per glucose molecule, with carbon dioxide and water as byproducts. In contrast, anaerobic respiration does not require oxygen, involving glycolysis followed by fermentation, producing only 2 ATP molecules per glucose molecule, and generating byproducts like lactic acid and ethanol. Therefore, aerobic respiration is much efficient in energy production.
Everyday examples: breathing during exercise, brain activity, muscle movement, and digestion. First is breathing during exercise. An example you wanna is like jogging or playing basketball, volleyball, soccer, etc. etc. Second is brain activity, like answering a test questionnaire, answering some people's questions, and like doing some activities. Third is muscle movement and digestion, like dancing, lifting weight in the gym, and breaking down food for energy. Like yun, muliho ka para magliho ka like yun. Liho na samok like yun, magpanapanaw like walking to digest the food inside your tummy.
Here is a short video that we wanted you to watch for you to learn and understand more.
The BioTech Whisperer channel focused on microlearning and science. Quick! Aerobic respiration is a cellular process that produces energy in the form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate, by breaking down glucose molecules with the use of oxygen. This process occurs in the cells of most living organisms, including humans and animals, as well as plants and fungi. The process of aerobic respiration is divided into three main stages: glycolysis, the Krebs cycle, and the electron transport chain. Let's take a closer look at each of these stages. Glycolysis. Glycolysis is the first stage of aerobic respiration and occurs in the cytoplasm of the cell. During this stage, glucose molecules are broken down into 2-pyruvate molecules, releasing energy in the form of ATP. Glycolysis does not require oxygen, and it is also an essential process for anaerobic respiration. Krebs cycle. The Krebs cycle is the second stage of aerobic respiration and occurs in the mitochondria of the cell. During this stage, the pyruvate molecules produced during glycolysis are further broken down into carbon dioxide, releasing energy in the form of ATP and reducing agents like NADH and FADH2. These reducing agents are used in the electron transport chain to produce more ATP. Electron transport chain. The electron transport chain is the final stage of aerobic respiration and occurs in the mitochondria of the cell. During this stage, the reducing agents NADH and FADH2 produced in the Krebs cycle donate electrons to a series of protein complexes in the mitochondrial membrane. As the electrons are passed down the chain, energy is released and used to produce ATP. At the end of the chain, the electrons are combined with oxygen to form water. Overall, aerobic respiration is a highly efficient process that produces a large amount of ATP from a single glucose molecule. It is essential for the survival of most living organisms and plays a vital role in various biological processes, including muscle contraction, cellular respiration, and the maintenance of body temperature. However, it is important to note that excessive aerobic respiration can lead to the production of harmful reactive oxygen species, ROS, which can damage cells and lead to various diseases.
From the video that we saw, aerobic respiration is the way our cells turn glucose and oxygen into energy. It happens mostly in the mitochondria, often called the powerhouse of the cell. The video also shows the stages, which is the glycolysis and the cytoplasm, then the Krebs cycle and the electron transport chain in the mitochondria. The final result is ATP, which gives our body energy, and the byproducts are carbon dioxide and water. This is why oxygen is so very important for our life. Without it, the electron transport chain would stop and our cells wouldn't be able to make enough energy. So the video nicely illustrated how every breath we take and every bite of food we ate work together to keep us alive and active. To sum up, aerobic respiration is oxygen-based energy release discovered by Lavoisier, named by Pasteur, and it is essential for our life.